Hey, everybody, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Can the Lakers get themselves a high-end center without trading Austin Reaves? That is next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter where you get your podcasts, this one's always going to be free and never behind a paywall. And of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 35,000 subscribers to the channel, Andy, all of whom are still trying to figure out how exactly the Lakers are going to fill this gaping hole that they have at center that is not a secret. Exactly. I mean, it's not unknown around the league that the Lakers have a gap in their lineup at the position. And wouldn't shock me if teams make it hard for them to fill it. So we'll get into all of that. Plus, Andy, it is the anniversary of the single greatest press conference in NBA history. That happened on Tuesday. So we'll talk about that momentarily. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So we've done a lot over the last few episodes trying to figure out a bunch of different things related to the center position. Can they get one free agency? Can they think about a trade? What is the trade value of Austin Reaves following the Desmond Bane deal, where he goes to Orlando from Memphis for a pretty significant haul of stuff, 4 first-round picks, plus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony also going back to Memphis.
And a pick swap, although highly, highly protected pick swap.
Yes. It kind of gets back to this basic question of, like, how are the Lakers going to get themselves this center? We talked on Tuesday's show, like, if the Lakers can't get themselves somebody like, they couldn't get Steven Adams, but like even of all the way down to like Luke Cornett or whoever it is, like this small taxpayer mid-level just doesn't get you that good a center. Do you pivot and get a better player at a different need? It's hard to figure out exactly where they're going to get a really good player. And certainly if they are going to get a good player, does it have to include Austin Reaves in a trade?
Well, I mean, as we talked about, they're almost certainly going to have to make a trade in order to get a center of significance. We talked about Clint Capella as maybe an emphasis on maybe the best center that they could potentially get with a taxpayer mid-level exception. And by maybe, I want to make it clear, I don't mean that maybe he's the best. He's absolutely the best. I mean maybe in terms of it potentially even being viable. Like, he is at the absolute upper end of a center that I can even sort of squint and imagine possibly being gettable for a taxpayer mid-level exception, largely because if I had to guess, Clint Capella the Hawks would not be interested in bringing him back, and he would see the Lakers as the best opportunity for him to get enough playing time to play on a 1-year taxpayer mid-level, then re-enter free agency at, I want to say, age 32, try to get one last significant deal in his 30s. Also want to correct myself quickly. When I said that the draft swap was highly protected, I meant it's actually top 1 or 2 overall pick protected. In that sense, it's quite lightly protected. I was thinking of high draft pick. Just want to make sure I phrased this right. But it is going to be somewhere between difficult, impossible, and why are you even debating this, trying to come up with ways for the Lakers to get a good center without a trade being involved, with or without Austin Reaves. They're just the machinations just simply aren't out there, nor is the center market going to be available for the Lakers with just a little under $6 million.
Right. And it's funny because, one of the one of the biggest reasons I think not to put Reaves out on the block is, ironically, given the season he's coming off of, where statistically he did things that, I think only 12 other players or something in the league did, in terms of the numbers that he put up every night. And he is, I believe, the youngest player to put up the numbers that he did, or certainly one of them. So like, his value is high in the sense that I think a lot of people got a good taste of what Austin Reaves is, how good, how much he's improved. Numbers get better every year and all that kind of stuff. But in some ways, you're trading for him at the low point of his value because of this contract question, because a team understands that he's going to get significantly more expensive, but they could be okay with that. A lot of teams are. You do get still one kind of cheap year of the guy, which you can factor in. Maybe it helps you out this year with your payroll, whatever it might be. But the problem is he's not locked up for anything after this upcoming season, and he is not going to extend with your team. If you trade for Austin Reaves this summer, he will not be signing an extension. It is different than other situations where you don't, but like the guy could, if he wants to. Austin's going to cost himself
tens of millions of dollars
by signing an extension this offseason. He's not doing it for the Lakers. He's not doing it for any team. So I do think that mitigates some of that value. Whereas a guy, as you pointed out in, I think it was Tuesday's show, maybe it might have been Monday, somebody like Bane is locked up until 2029, I think it is. So
yes,
he's not going anywhere. Like, you have that certainty that you don't have with Austin. And that makes it harder to get maximum value in terms of just player comps. It just makes it a little harder.
What's also really interesting about this too, like beyond the fact of the Lakers figuring out just how much they truly believe in a core that could be built, like a foundation that would be built around Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, because even if LeBron is part of that equation for the time being, like, we know there are only so many more years that LeBron is going to be involved with this. And, LeBron being an open-ended situation creates complications of its own, but anything long-term is not going to involve him. It's really a Luka Austin core. Can that be properly built around? But in thinking about this, in terms of specifically trading Austin for a center, and it should be made clear, that should not be the only position that you think about trading Austin for. If you are willing to trade Austin, if you're mulling this over, you should be thinking about all of the needs that the Lakers are looking to shore up. It's just center is
the biggest.
Well, it's the most glaring. I mean, they literally have no NBA centers under contract for next year. Jackson Hayes is an unrestricted free agent. Kristen Koloko, if you even consider him an NBA center at this point, he's a restricted free agent. Trey Jemison III is on a two-way deal. So they literally have nobody. But if you start going around the league, like just looking at centers that could be potential trade targets, once you eliminate some of the centers that just, this is a stupid discussion, it's not going to happen. Wemby, Jokic, I think you can put Ivica Zubats in that category. Like these are things that are not going to happen. I think Onyeka Okongwu, the way Atlanta clearly likes him, and he's young, he's rising. I don't picture that happening. I would be very, very surprised if Miles Turner could be a possibility in a sign.
No, you can go through the list and it's pretty obvious to most people to be like, that's not a thing.
But here, and we can talk about this next, what starts becoming even more complicated with this is, however willing the Lakers are to start mulling over, like really seriously considering, we may not want to, but we actually may have to trade Austin. And if you start specifically thinking about this for a center, there aren't that many that I think are actually worth it in a deal for Austin, much less that you maybe could actually get in a deal for Austin. We can talk about this coming up. Like, it's actually, even if you're willing to put Austin out there, it may not totally solve the problem.
All right, well, let's do that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time, and I am looking for the Game Time script. I thought it was queued up. My apologies to everybody, including the good folks over at Game Time. But you know what? There is nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's a type of atmosphere you must experience live, just like this read. And this year's matchups, they've been awesome, man. I've been loving this Pacers Thunder finals. It's really, really awesome. I hope people have been paying attention to it beyond just the star power. And if you want to try to check out a game, and you really ought to be in Indiana because the thing may be ending soon, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for a Game 6 in the NBA Finals. Prices on the app actually drop the closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. Ridiculously easy app to use. 2 taps and then you're done. The Game Time guarantee means you know you're getting authenticated tickets on time, the best deal possible. And if you find a better price in the same row or section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right. So before we move back on to this center question, Tuesday was a very fun anniversary for Lakers fans. It was the anniversary of the Game 7 against the Celtics 15 years ago. The anniversary of one of the most amazing games I think I've ever had a chance to witness, and certainly the greatest post-game press conference that anybody has ever seen, with Metta World Peace and his family. And
I got Wheaties.
Kobe passed me the ball, never passed me the ball. And then remember the part like passed me, don't shoot, shot it anyway. Like all the whole thing was just, it was stunning.
You and I, Brian, have we've covered the Lakers for now going on about 20 years, meaning we've been to a lot of press game post conferences. We've covered a few NBA finals. So we've been to even a lot of finals post game press conferences.
There you go.
Metta World Peace is the only one where after his press conference concluded, the media applauded. That has never happened.
It was that
ever.
Good
And the best part was, you and I, as we were leaving then Staples Center late night, we finished filing everything we were doing for, at the time, ESPN.com. We go out in the LA Live Plaza and we run into a totally hammered Ron Artest, who is still wearing his Lakers uniform, either to the club, from the club, both, whatever. But it was like a little league kid who went out for post-game ice cream. It was amazing, and just yet another reason why Ron Artest / Metta World Peace, he's just the best.
And then you, of course, combine that with the Game 7 itself, which was, it's hard to think of a game that upon which a player's legacy in many ways pivoted more than the meaning of that game for Kobe. Not that I'm not trying to claim that like the guy's not a Hall of Famer or something if they don't win in 2010, but if they don't, then he's got one title without Shaq.
Lost twice to the Celtics.
And if they don't pull that game out, lost to Boston in Game 7 after playing a terrible, what would have been a terrible game by Kobe's standards.
Terrible shooting game. He actually did a lot of things.
He did a lot of other things, but that's what people were going to remember was the terrible shooting night.
Of course.
Bouncing balls off his foot, turnovers. It was a crazy, crazy night. I mean, it was a great reminder that a player can contribute in other ways than scoring. But overall, it was not a good game from Kobe. I think it's hard to claim that it was a good game. Kobe didn't claim that it was a good
here's
game.
the thing. Here's what
his line was he found ways to contribute, and that's true. But he didn't call that a good game.
Whether he would call it a good game or not, I would say 15 rebounds and shut down defense, in particular on Rajon Rondo, that's pretty good stuff. I mean, like, is it a complete great game from Kobe? No. Is 6 of 24 from the field is something that you're going to remember in particular with Kobe? Yes. But I still, to this day, think Kobe did on balance more, whether you want to call it good or not, he did a lot that was really impressive in that game.
Well, a lot was impressive. I found, to be perfectly honest, I thought if you agree, it was not a top level game. It's not that he didn't do anything, but I found the sort of humanity of it all to be the most amazing. The two I think most amazing moments that I saw with Kobe were that one where he, post game after there's the sort of the opposite of our test press conference where Kobe is really revealing as much about like how the pressure of that in the moment and all these other things, like it was really hard for him. Like it got kind of
overwhelmed him. It
affected his ability to play at the level that he expects. Just how much he wanted that game and needed that game.
He wanted it too badly, in all honesty.
I think so. And that moment and the moment where he shot the free throws after the Achilles, it's like, and I guess for me, it's you see the person inside this incredible level of achievement and incredible drive and all these other things, and that's it's sort of both of those moments in a lot of ways stripped away the branding and the stuff that he would do to create this persona that went along with Kobe. And it was two examples to me of just seeing sort of the guy at the core of it in two very different situations.
I mean, we covered Kobe for 10 years, and while neither one of us developed like a personal relationship with Kobe, I think we both got to know him reasonably well on a professional level. I mean, we were around him.
And it's just for people to understand too, like that era, sort of just the way media worked around the NBA, you just were closer to players much more frequently.
You had more direct access. Both of us would have side conversations with Kobe, stuff like that.
It was just, he would wander through the media room while we're all sitting there waiting for stuff. Like you were around players much more than you are now, where they're kept much more separate from, at least certainly with the Lakers.
Right. I know it's like that with all teams. You compare notes with a lot of people who cover teams around the league, and it may not be as stark as the Lakers, but it's more common certainly than it used to be. But anyway, one of the things you and I used to say all the time with covering Kobe is the most, I think, underreported, underexamined part of, an athlete who was truly like globally iconic. And I think it's safe to say scrutinized on, they unpeeled just about every single layer of that onion. But I think one of the things that wasn't paid attention to enough with Kobe is just how interesting he was. Like, he was just a really interesting person. Like, he was a fascinating person, like in terms of his strengths, his character flaws, what made him, incredibly compelling, charismatic, to be totally honest, weird at times. Like, there was a weirdness to Kobe that was really interesting. He
talked about it in maybe not in exactly those terms, but
he was,
honestly,
extremely funny. He was one of the smartest athletes you and I have ever covered.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, super, not just basketball smart, like
smart, intellectually curious in a way. And I was going to say, like, he is interesting as a person.
Yes,
in some ways. I don't want to ignore the controversies and some of the darker aspects of his career, but in ways, setting that aside even for a moment, the ways like he is the anti-Jordan in a lot of, because I don't think Michael Jordan is a particularly interesting figure other than sort of the mythology and the competitiveness and all that other stuff. Like, he has not remained an interesting person or an interesting figure in his post-career life. I don't find Jordan particularly interesting in that way. Kobe, I think, would have continued to be somebody that you wanted to see what he was doing, or would have been doing interestingly. Not to say that he would have been universally popular. Again, the history is the history, but he was so alike in terms of Jordan on the floor, in terms of how Kobe patterned how he played, and very different in I feel, in almost every other way. So that was interesting. Anyway, I wanted to mention that anniversary, which obviously that was one of the most amazing games that you and I have ever had a chance to see. So
June 17th, Tuesday, as we were recording this, Wednesday, as a lot of people will be listening.
Right. So that was the anniversary coming up that happened on Tuesday. Let's get back to this AR question and the center question and the trade question, and a quick LeBron update as well.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Olipop. It is a new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda, or even somebody like me who, quite frankly, doesn't even like soda. But you want something that supports your health. And just 2 to 5 grams of sugar, 9 grams of prebiotic fiber. In every can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Like traditional sodas, they are loaded with sugar. 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in Orange Fanta. That sounds disgusting. Olipop, I hope they're never a sponsor. Olipop flips that script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, gut-friendly ingredients like Ollie Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. Like, I love the classic grape. It tastes exactly like the grape juice you lived on as a kid, myself included. I like truly exactly, except unlike that grape juice, it's actually helping my gut. It's got a little bit of fizz, and it is not overloaded with sugar. And that's like a really big deal for me, because beyond the health benefits, which I really do appreciate, I don't like sweet drinks. It's part of the reason I don't particularly like soda. And I was seriously skeptical about Olipop, that I would actually like it, until I tasted it, and I'm not skeptical anymore. So get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 in a store and they'll reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba to claim your free can and find an Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba.
We can get into the future question of LeBron James in terms of like when signs about how long he might be playing of this, that, and the other. But he did mention in this was on Mind the Game, wasn't it?
No, this was an interview.
No, you're right. This was.
It's an interview attached to the promotion of an Amazon commercial that he just cut, which is a very weird thing to explain, but it's an interview attached to a commercial.
Focus right now is on getting that knee 100% healthy for training camp. So
he said it's feeling good.
It's feeling good, but it is an indication that had the Lakers managed to extend that series against Minnesota, or even beat Minnesota, the LeBron James was not going to be a part of whatever the Lakers were doing for the rest of the playoffs. So we'll maybe look at that towards the end of the week. But back to this question of trades. I think the point you were making, like, if the Lakers, there's a danger in sort of getting obsessed with, like, okay, do we put Dalton on the block? Do we put AR on the block? Well, this is really their only. Do we put the number 1 pick on the block? Those are really their only genuinely marketable assets. There might be a team out there that likes Rui Hachimura. There might be a team out there that would want Gabe Vincent's expiring contract. Like, there are things that you could be that aren't necessarily bad, but in terms of somebody saying, I want those things, it would be that first round pick, perhaps Dalton Knecht, and perhaps Austin Reaves. It is a trap to just say that you have to get a center back if you're going to trade one of those 3 things, or 2 of them, or all 3 of them.
Well, it's especially a trap because I'm not sure if you really break down the possibilities of what's out there, that we're talking about Austin, but like a straight up deal with Austin, that you're going to decide it's actually worth it. Like I really started looking and thinking about the centers around the league. And, there are the Wembys, the Jokic's that like, this is not going to happen. This is a stupid discussion. Then you think about could you possibly think about one of these guys leaving their teams, but like a sign and trade for Miles Turner strikes me as incredibly unlikely. Even if the Clippers decided they needed to pivot, I don't picture them trading Zubats for Austin Reaves. I don't see the point of Miami trading Bam Adebayo for Austin and teaming him up with Tyler Hero. If you think there could be defensive concerns with Luka and Austin, wait till you see Luka and Tyler Hero. Like we've talked before, the reason that Clint Capella could maybe be a possibility for the Lakers with that taxpayer mid-level exception is because they love Onyeka Okongwu. So that's not going to be a possibility. Then you start thinking about, a sign and trade for Naz Reid. Like, no, that's a terrible idea for Austin. Nick Claxton, who I'm very big on the idea of trading for him, but straight up for Austin, no. Austin's worth more than that. Same with Daniel Gafford. Like a sign and trade for Mo Wagner if Orlando decided to move on. No. Goga Batasi or Wendell Carter Jr. also in Orlando. Like they're not individually worth as much as Austin. And especially after the deal too that Orlando just made, the only reason you would do that is maybe if you can get Jalen Suggs in that deal, like part of a larger thing, but that's not going to happen because of, again, what Orlando just did. Nick Vucevic for Austin Reaves? Hell no. The only Rudy Gobert, like Jared Allen.
Wouldn't
like,
that be an interesting turn of events?
Yes. Yeah. Luka and Gobert as teammates, although he would be one hell of a back line for people's concerns about Luka defensively. But it's like Jared Allen's maybe like the only center I can imagine that might be available that you can really start thinking about a deal for Austin. Some people are wondering if Memphis, after the Bane deal, are they looking to tear everything down?
They're saying no, but you would also assume that they would say no, because if the answer is yes, you don't want to tell everyone.
Like, would you trade Austin in a sign and trade for a very expensive Jaren Jackson Jr.? Reportedly he's looking for a contract extension around like $200 million.
Yeah, I would.
I don't know if to be honest, think Memphis would do it.
No, I don't think Memphis would. You asked me.
But like, would you do that if Jaren Jackson Jr., he's a very good center, but he's not the prototype center that people talk about for Luka? Would you make that deal? Like basically Reaves?
I would, but
right.
But I think the thing about this too, and I should have mentioned more at the beginning. I know you artfully mentioned during the break, but just to mention one more time that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The alternative is to not try to trade him for players and try to trade him. If you feel like this is the avenue you need to go down, try to trade him for stuff and then trade the stuff for the players. Because if you don't, the problem with trying to trade Austin specifically for anything is you are sort of limiting your market to teams that want Austin Reaves. If you feel, as Rob Pelinka, that there are more teams out there that want good draft picks, and this is all based on the assumption that Reaves would get a Bane-like return, which I don't think is a safe assumption, but for the sake of argument, the challenge with that is it requires you to then make more trades. Do you trust Rob Pelinka to execute a trade that sort of definitionally requires him to then turn around and make more trades to use the assets that you just got? I don't know.
That's what some people think Memphis is ultimately going to try to do rather than completely rebuild. They're going to use that draft capital that they just got for Desmond Bane, turn around and flip it, attach it to whoever trying to get a better piece to pair alongside Jaren Jackson Jr., presumably extended, and John Morant.
So, so it's just like Do you trust Rob to do that? That is a royal you, a hypothetical. Like I would be squeamish. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
This gets back to, by the way, Brian, like a couple weeks ago when I came up with that, emphasis fake trade. This is a 3-team deal that I came up with on my own, just my imagination, trying to come up with basically the idea of trying to rebalance the roster, give it more of a two-way presence, less redundancy, particularly among guys who could play the 4, try to make, I think, a more potent starting 5. And it was also like the idea of how radically could they do this? And the trade that I came up with was the Lakers sending Austin Reaves, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, Shake Milton, and the 2031 first to Houston. Brooklyn would get Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, the Lakers' second-round pick, Cam Whitmore from Houston, and a couple swaps. Maybe they get a little bit more draft capital from Houston. The Lakers quite literally don't have any more to offer. And the Lakers would get Nick Claxton, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr. And whether Brooklyn or Houston would do this deal that I proposed, I can't say, but I don't think it's a ridiculous trade for either one of them. Like, I don't think what they are giving up compared to what they're getting back is ridiculous. But if nothing else, this speaks to the idea of if you're looking for Austin, if you're looking to use Austin in a trade that would involve a center, but you're going to make it worth your while to give up Austin in the first place, you likely have to expand this thing. Like it likely.
Oh, I think there's no question.
It likely has to turn into a pretty large trade
I
because
think there's no question.
I don't think you're going to be able to find a center in a 1-for-1 deal for Austin realistically that the Lakers would want to do, much less the other team would want to do.
The bottom line here is that the Lakers are just going to need to be creative this offseason. Something we can talk about more throughout the rest of the week. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 35,000 subscribers. It's a lot of subscribers to the channel. We will see everyone tomorrow.